Welcome to Business Blurred View and the Women Running Businesses podcast. My name is your host. If this is your first time listening to Women Running Businesses, we are a weekly podcast that brings successful female entrepreneurs in every week to dive deeper into their minds. So stick around to hear authentic and honest conversations surrounding entrepreneurship, and make sure to subscribe to stay in the loop. Today we have a very special guest, Brooke Alex. Brooke is a pop singer/songwriter from Nashville, Tennessee, who turns heads with her fierce vocals and catchy hooks. Brooke, we're so glad to have you on today's episode.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So let's start with an easy question. How long have you been singing?
So apparently when I was 7 years old, I went up to my mom and I said, I want to be a singer. And she started taking me to auditions that she saw in the newspaper. We had no idea about how to start a career in music. And I guess they went well, and agents and vocal coaches wanted to work with me. So we were like, oh, I guess I can sing. And that kind of launched my infatuation with music throughout my life. I ended up going to college for music. I went to Elon University in North Carolina. And then when I graduated, I moved right to Nashville to pursue being a pop artist here. So I've been here for the past 3 years, writing and recording music and releasing it.
That's awesome. When did you first start putting out your own music?
I started putting out music in college, experimenting with my peers there. And I've since taken down pretty much all that music because it was definitely a trial and error kind of thing where, we were just getting into the studios and learning how to record, and my songwriting wasn't as strong yet either. But so mainly in college, but I think after I graduated was when I started putting out my best work.
That's awesome. Do you write all of your own lyrics?
Yeah, so in Nashville, what's really common is co-writing. So 2 or 3 songwriters will get in a room together and write a song together. So every song that I have released, I am one of a few writers on the song.
That's awesome. So co-writing, I'm not too familiar with the music industry. Can you kind of talk about what that's like being, in the studio writing with somebody else? How do you choose who you're writing with?
Totally. So Nashville has a great community of everyone here is a songwriter or musician pretty much. So anytime you go out, kind of the first question you have when you're networking is, hey, do you want to write sometime? It's kind of like, oh, let's grab a beer, instead of becoming friends that way. You become friends by having a co-write together. And so, as you're here longer and you hear more names of who is moving up in the ranks and kind of like that, you figure out who's at the level that you want to write with. And so generally for me, as a pop artist, I like to have 2 other people in the room with me. So a producer who creates the instrumental track, and then strictly a songwriter who is there to help with lyrics and melody. And then me as the artist who comes in with the concept for the song, and ideas and themes for the song to be around. And of course, I'll contribute with lyrics and melody as well.
That's super cool. So how did you choose to become a pop artist rather than, a different sector of music?
Totally. So as I mentioned, I grew up by New York City, and I used to go and audition for auditions all the time. And I was basically doing musical theater all the time then, because I thought that was the only outlet for singing at the time. Mm-hmm. But every time I would audition for things, and with my vocal coach, she would always say, you have such a pop driven voice. Just the way that I would sing was very much copying what I heard on the radio. And so I would have to kind of tone that back when I was singing musical theater and kind of turn on my musical theater voice. So I knew that pop was just the way that my voice always tended to lean. So it was very natural when I started writing pop music for myself.
That's super cool. So talking about your new song, Grace, which is about your mom, can you tell me a little bit about, the song itself and what made you want to write this?
So have you ever played the game We're Not Really Strangers?
Yes.
Great. So I was playing that with my girlfriends at a bonfire, and my card that I had to answer was, what's your mom's name and what's the most beautiful thing about her? And I started crying when I read that. We were already kind of, having deep emotional conversations because of that game. But it just made me start thinking about how growing up I wasn't that close with my mom, and I regretted it, and all the things that I that I wished we could get closer and be closer. And it turns out that we are really similar, and that was the root of a lot of our miscommunications growing up. And so a few days later, I was in a co-write with two other guys named Jordan DePaul and Asher Postman. And I walked in and I was like, I want to write a song about my mom, which is a really difficult song to write about and not make it cheesy, Right. And luckily they were up for the challenge. Jordan actually, it was our first write together, and he came in with his guitar and was like, I've been listening to your music all day, and I think this chorus melody is so you. And he played the melody that you hear now in Grace, and I was obsessed, as a lot of people have been voicing to me that they are as well now that the song's come out. And he literally just played me the melody, and I was like, turns out I'm a little like Grace. And the song was born, and it was perfect.
That is awesome. You guys wrote such a powerful song too.
Thank you so much. It's really cool on TikTok, especially, to see how many people are connecting with the song and relate to it. A lot of people went through the exact same thing as me, where they weren't as close to their mom when they were younger, and they wish they could become closer. And even people who are super close with their mom have been jamming out to the song and sharing videos with me of them with their mom dancing around to the song. So that's really special.
That's awesome. And speaking of TikTok, we know TikTok is such an incredibly powerful platform nowadays. Mm-hmm. How have you really used TikTok to increase your platform as an artist?
TikTok has been incredible. I, like a lot of artists during the pandemic, when we had less things going on, really resorted to TikTok to share my music with the world. And it's awesome that anybody can blow up on there. That's really the key. It's definitely difficult because you work on something for hours and hours, and nothing happens with it. And then you come up with an idea last minute. And that's actually the video that blew up for me with Grace before it came out. I was just on my way home, and I stopped in the car before coming in the house, and I was just like, I'm just going to sing the song in the car real quick, posted it, and it blew up overnight. So you just never know, but it really has changed, like, my streaming numbers. You can totally see how it translates. People, it's really cool. It's a really fast and effective way to gain fans.
For sure. That's awesome. And I know that video that you're talking about is actually the one that I first saw of yours last week, and I was like, that's so cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It was just really cool that it was such a last minute thing that I did, and it really resonated with people.
For sure. And then talking about, the rest of social media, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. You have quite a following on Instagram. How did you grow your fan base?
Thank you. Just over time, playing shows, connecting with other artists in town, other co-writers, people tagging me in things. TikTok has helped a lot with the numbers in terms of people just coming over to Instagram from TikTok.
For sure. And, being in such a creative industry, it's almost inevitable that you hit creative blocks or burnout at, certain points. Mm-hmm. How do you usually deal with that?
So I actually was kind of in a writer's block, I would say maybe this past winter, actually, where I had already written Grace, and I was like, I want this to be the first song of the next EP, but I hadn't written anything afterwards that I was really excited about to follow the song with. So I was getting nervous that I was going to release Grace and then have no more content afterwards. But I think for me, what works best is just to keep pushing through it, continuing to go to writes, continuing to show up and work on the craft. And then luckily things have just started sparking and working again. And I've started writing within the past 2 weeks songs that I'm really, really excited about. So I think for me, it's just like, when I feel really tired, I just continue to push myself to push past it until it works, I guess.
That's awesome. So you actually wrote Grace a while ago then, right?
Yeah, I wrote it in October. A lot of people don't know this, but it actually takes 5 weeks for it to become on Spotify. So you have to like have the song completely recorded, mixed, mastered, everything done 5 weeks before you release it. Because the DSPs, which stands for like Spotify and Apple Music and all those, they need 5 weeks to process the song.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. So usually, how long is it between the time you finish writing a song and when you put it out?
So that all depends. Like if it's going to be part of a project that you're working on that's going to come out soon. Maybe a lot of artists in town will just kind of write and wait a year or 2 years before they even release any of the music, because they want to figure out which are the best songs and really pluck them out. For me, I tend to go with the system where I write a song, and then when I feel like one is a hit or one really speaks to me, I release it and start snowballing into an EP, which I've done for the past 2 EPs. So just kind of, honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of finding the EP theme along the way, which is not a typical way. Usually artists will kind of write the 5 songs that are going to be on the EP first and then figure out the branding and everything afterwards. But I feel like with the go pace of today, I'd rather just continuously put out music. So I like to snowball my releases like that.
Right, for sure. Are you currently signed with a label?
I am not. Nope. But I did just sign a management deal actually yesterday. And I'm really excited about that. So I signed a deal with Figure 8 International, and my main manager there is Hampton Howerton out of New York City. And that's like my first big step, I would say, that I'm taking as an artist towards achieving these dreams. And I'm really excited about it.
Congrats. That is a huge step.
Thank you.
So in general, how much creative control do you have over what you put out? Like, do you get to choose, like, this is the next song that's coming out, we're doing a music video for it, this is how the music video is going to look? How much creative control do you usually have over what you put out?
I have 100% creative control, which is what is so great about being an independent artist. But also, even if I did sign a major label deal, I would make sure that I still had full control over that sort of thing. It's important to know who you are and push for what you believe in. Otherwise, like, who are the fans a fan of if you don't know,
Right. Do you currently have a team working with you, or are you doing everything 100% solo?
So like I said, I just signed a management deal, so they're going to be helping me with pushing the songs and marketing and that kind of stuff, but I still have all the creative vision in terms of writing the songs, figuring out the branding. I create all my own graphics. I created my website, designed it. I direct and edit all my music videos, come up with the concepts, create all the teasers for when my song's coming out, all the digital teasers on like Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that. So yeah, I still have pretty much full creative control, I would say, and the management team is just helping me bring the vision to life further.
Oh, wow. That's like a full-time job and a half.
Yes, it is a lot of work, but it's really rewarding, I would say.
Yeah. So what does your family think about your music career? Have they always been supportive from the start? When you decided to go to college for music, were they like, yes, we support you 100%? Or were they kind of trying to steer you into a different direction?
I was really lucky, I would say, and they always supported me. Like I said, I went to my mom when I was 7 and told her I wanted to be a singer, and she could have just brushed that off, but she immediately took me to auditions and things like that. And my family knew that singing was always going to be a part of my life. So when I went to college, they weren't surprised that I was going to major in music. And then when I graduated and told them I wanted to move to Nashville, they were also not surprised either by that. But I think that they know I'm smart and gonna figure out my way. I'm not just gonna live on the streets while I'm pursuing this dream. So I think they trusted me to pursue it, but also be able to pay my bills.
That's awesome. So what has been your most popular song to date?
So right before I released Grace, I released a song with DJ Bloomline called Intimidate You. And that song actually blew up on TikTok and had a million and a half views on TikTok.
Oh my
And
God.
that totally translated to streams. Like the next day, we had 22,000 more streams on Spotify. And that song then was picked up by Discover Weekly the following Monday and has been continuing to gain numbers exponentially since then. So I think we might have hit 400,000 streams on the song today. So that song, I would say, is currently growing the fastest. I will say Grace has the most streams right away for a release ever for me. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, wow. Was it a surprise to you that Intimidate You did as well as it did? And did you put it out thinking, okay, let's try and, make it as big as possible? Or was it kind of surprised when you first saw it on TikTok and it kind of picked up?
Yeah, I actually did try one thing before this one blew up where I posted a dating application because it's Intimidate You, and had people apply to date me and did a whole series on it. And I thought it was such a fun idea. I thought it was definitely going to blow up, and it did. I mean, it did okay, but it didn't blow up by any means like the one that did. And so it was I was with my family and I just thought of the idea last minute. Same thing like with Grace. And I just threw the video together, put it up, and it went viral. So it was kind of like I was losing hope on it going viral on TikTok and was kind of like, let's do one last ditch effort, and it worked.
Oh, wow. That's so awesome. It really speaks to how amazing TikTok really is.
Totally. And just keep trying and same thing with my roommate. She had a song that came out a year ago, and the past week she started posting it on TikTok, and now it's blowing up on Spotify again. So it doesn't really matter when the song came out, as long as you continue to push it until it does get picked up by the algorithm.
For sure. So I know a lot of our podcast audience are avid music listeners and want to know, how do musicians make money? Is it primarily from streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, or is it from other means like touring and selling merch?
Yeah. So there are definitely multiple ways. I will say I have a day job and I work for a record label doing video editing, which is where I get those skills from, where I can create my own content. But I would say majority of artists here in Nashville do have other means of income as well until they make it and blow up. But in terms of music specifically, yes, it would be from streaming. TikTok started paying creators as well. YouTube, a lot of people are getting into sync placements, so trying to get their songs into TV shows and movies and digital ads on the internet. That is where a lot of people are making money these days with music. Touring, of course, which is not happening right now, selling merch. But yeah, there are definitely multiple different ways. I would say sync placement is what a lot of artists are really looking towards right now.
That's so cool. And with the pandemic happening, were you able to do something with the time that you might not have otherwise, releasing more music than you originally planned?
Actually, no. I would say I, like a lot of other artists, took a hit from the pandemic in terms of it made me more sad and less of wanting to work on music, I would say. But luckily I did push through it and continue to release an EP in 2020. So I was releasing music all of 2020. Some artists took a step back and didn't release any music. But I think that ended up helping me by releasing that music, because I don't think I would have signed this management deal if I hadn't. So.
Right. That's awesome. And looking, post-COVID, maybe 2022, fingers crossed, that's our year. Do you have any plans to tour?
Well, we're hoping that, end of this year, things do start to open up. So hopefully maybe end of this year in the fall or winter, I'll be able to start playing some shows again, maybe next year, early in the year. But my management company does have a touring arm, so we are looking into booking some shows right now.
Oh, wow. Are there any specific cities or like dream venues that you absolutely want to go to, in the next 5 to 10 years, let's say?
Definitely would love to play a festival. Lollapalooza, Coachella, something like that would be incredible. So that would be top of my list, I would say. Oh, and then I'll add Madison Square Garden is top of the list, just because I grew up near New York City and that place has such a steam around it.
I think that's just like an iconic venue that everyone has on their list.
For sure. So that's top of the list.
Who did you look up to, growing up in the music industry? And, who are some people that really inspired you to create?
Mm-hmm. So since I mentioned I did a lot of musical theater growing up, when I was 13, I stumbled across a YouTube video for Taylor Swift's music video for Love Story. And that video changed my entire life because I realized that I could write songs and sing them on the radio instead of singing show tunes. And that was when I started guitar lessons and songwriting. Because I think before that, I never had a favorite artist before Taylor, and I hadn't seen anyone close to my age writing music herself. And I think that was really inspiring to me and was the push I needed to move to Nashville and be writing songs and pursuing this dream.
For sure. What's your favorite part about being a singer-songwriter?
Definitely performing. I would say more so than singing, more so than recording, more so than writing. Being on stage is my true number one love. And that is the reason why I'm doing all this, is so that I can, at the end of the day, be on a stage with the lights and the dancers and the musicians singing songs and having the audience sing them back at me.
That's an amazing dream. And do you have any advice to, aspiring singer-songwriters out there, people who are maybe, 13, 14 years old right now, thinking in 10 years, I want to be in Nashville, I want to be writing songs? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I just heard this quote the other day and I'm in love with it. And it's it's know you're great, but not greater than anyone else. And I think that is really important, because you have to believe in yourself, but also don't have an ego when you're networking, and be humble and go into every opportunity knowing that maybe it won't work out, but confidently and with happiness and excitement, and hope that it works out and that the success comes to you.
For sure. That is such a good quote, especially like just in all aspects of life.
Totally. It changed my life when I heard it like 2 weeks ago. I was like, I'll be using that.
Have you ever considered, television singing competition like American Idol?
I have auditioned for every single singing competition show. American Idol, X Factor, The Voice, America's Got Talent. And I made it a few rounds for The Voice and X Factor, but I never made it on the show, on the actual like taping of the show. So that was definitely disappointing to me. I did a lot of those auditions when I was in high school. It was disappointing because I thought at the time that was the only way to make it. And now that I'm older, looking back, I'm glad that I didn't make it, because that's not really the way that I would have wanted to achieve the dream. So
for sure.
And I think if I had made it then, I wouldn't have the skill set that I have now. Like, my songs wouldn't be as strong, and I wouldn't be known for the things that I want to be known for now.
Right. Especially being so young, like just getting tossed into the spotlight, if you were.
Totally.
That would have drastically made, a huge difference.
Exactly. And like, if I made it now, I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I stand for, and I know what I want to represent. Whereas back then I wouldn't have.
For sure. And now that you're a little bit older, are you thinking maybe like, let's try that again? Or are you going in a different direction with your music and career?
Mm-hmm. I think that those shows are kind of losing their luster, I would say, right now. So no, I'm not really thinking about using those shows to achieve the dream anymore. I'm more so trying to gain fans organically now.
For sure. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then just looking ahead to, the rest of 2021, we still have, lots of months to go in this year.
Mm-hmm.
What are some goals that you want to accomplish?
This year, I would like to put out music that really resonates with people. I would like to continue growing the fan base. I would like to entertain maybe some publishing deal opportunities would be incredible. And just continue to write even better music than I have in the past.
That's some amazing goals.
Thank you.
And with that, I think this is a great place to end the episode. Brooke, thank you so much for sharing with us what it's like being a singer-songwriter. I know I absolutely love your new single, Grace, and I'll probably honestly have it on repeat for the rest of the day.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
For our listeners, make sure to tune back in next week to Women Running Businesses.